Hi, today I want to show you how you can best get scholarly sources. Yes, there's come a time now in our class where you need to use scholarly research. Now, first of all, before I begin, what do I even mean by this? There's a lot of sources out there, but not all sources are equal. We have books, but there are lots of different kinds of books. We have magazines and newspapers, but we have lots of different kinds of magazines and newspapers. When I'm talking about scholarly research, I'm not talking about things that may have very good credibility, like, say, the New York Times or the Atlantic Monthly, or books published by credible national publishing houses. I am talking about works written by academics, experts, professors, doctors, whomever, written by and for people who want to read the experts. Now, the way this works classically is through a process called peer review. Okay, so in a typical source, you will have editorial review. So you have a great article you wrote, you send it into a magazine, they decide to publish it or they don't decide to publish it. That's not what happens in academia. Let's say you're a professor doing research into a topic and you write up your research. Then you don't just send it out to the local newspaper or local magazine. You send it to an academic journal. Academic journals are made specifically for the purpose of publishing research. But you don't have an editor who makes the decision about this. What happens is that research goes to a panel of experts in that field, peers, if you will, and they read it and they judge it. They say, yes, this is really good. It satisfies all the standards of our profession and it should be published. Or they say, no, it doesn't. Or maybe they have something in the middle where they say, it's not bad, but it needs rewriting. Okay? But by the time it gets published, you have, quite frankly, the highest degree of credibility we can reasonably hope for. Nothing's ever perfect, of course. Now, we can do this through our library, and we don't have to walk into the library. We're here on our computer. I just scrolled down. I'm on the home page, as you can see, of San Diego Mesa College. And right here where it says research, this takes us to different things in the library. Now, I'm going to begin. You see databases here? It is bolded for a reason. It's where most people are going to go. There is the library page. That just takes us to the first page of the library. That's fine. OneSearch, which I am not the biggest fan of, but we'll still do a little something with that. Course reserves, which is where teachers like myself put books, including textbooks, but also other books related to the course, and you can look them up. And Ask a Librarian, which I think is pretty self-evident. We're going to go to databases. Now, our library is very happy to say we have 113 databases. I think at the moment we can't quite see the A. Oh, there we go. I'm going to scooch along here to the letter E. Okay, and now E, there we go, just had to make a little adjustment. So now you see, first of all, EBSCO. Now, EBSCO is just a brand name. They have the EBSCO ebook collection, which is exactly what that sounds like, where you can get textbooks, or not textbooks, full text books that are available electronically. We're not going to look at that particularly right now. We're going to go down to the multi-database search. Now, what happens here, let me just click on it. This is going to take us to a search page when it feels like it. There we go. Now, I want to point out that EBSCO is our biggest database. Okay, it has 15 databases and it has more articles, etc., than any other single place we can be in the library, except for OneSearch. But I'm not a fan of OneSearch. It's very confusing for many students, and me, quite frankly. So I'm going to click on full text. And I do that because that's what I want. I want the full text of an article. I'm not going to just go and get a bibliographic information and then try to chase it down on my own. That's not happening. Secondly, you see this button here, peer reviewed. I'm going to click on that. That will assure that whatever results I get are exactly that, peer reviewed, and that will be scholarly work. Now, if I do a search without pressing that button, I will still get peer-reviewed materials, but I'll get a lot of other materials. In fact, why don't we do that real fast? We're just going to take that peer review off for a second. We got Godzilla here. Yay, go Godzilla. I got 6,866 results. That's pretty good. What happens when I press peer review? I went down to 108. Why? Well, in the case of Godzilla, I'm sure there's a lot of magazines that are not scholarly that publish a great deal about monsters and movies, etc. Godzilla being very popular. Okay, but this time I wanted to have peer review only. And I got 108 results. Now I can look at all 108. Right now, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to stop here on the first one. Let's say we like this. Monster Island, Godzilla, and Japanese Sci-Fi Horror Fantasy by Philip Brophy. So I'm going to click on this. And then it shows me a few other things published in Postcolonial Studies in April 2000. There's the author. More information. There's a brief abstract, which is a summary of what's in the article. Okay, so I might want to check that out. Oh, but look at what I have here. Yes, indeed. What's essentially a PDF of the original. See, it has information, Postcolonial Studies, Volume 3, Number 1, original pages 39 to 42, year 2000, and then I get the actual piece. Okay? It also contains a little information about who Philip Brophy is. Teaches in the Department of Visual Communications, RMIT University, Melbourne. Okay. And I can read all that. Now, one of the fun things about these type of pieces, as academic pieces, they're pretty detailed, they're pretty exact. Sometimes they'll give you more information about places you can go to do additional reading, things of that nature. But the bottom line is they have the highest degree of credibility. Now I'm going to scroll back up to where we were before for just a moment. And I want to show you this. You see this button here? It looks like a quotation mark. It says cite, C-I-T-E. Look at what we just saw. It shows me how to cite the source. Unfortunately, we're not interested in APA. We're MLA, right? Well, guess what? Nice little drop-down menu. Takes us past the Brazilian National Standards, the AMA, the APA, Chicago. There's Harvard. Look what we have. MLA 9th edition. Just the exact same thing that we're using in our class. Click on that. Voila! Now I could copy paste, but it's easier just to copy to the clipboard, right? And put it into your paper. This is not cheating. This is very smart. And when you do this, I'll know, hey, this person is very smart. They're taking advantage of the resources that are available to them. Okay, copy and paste. Now, sometimes there are mistakes in these. I'm not going to lie. But even with the mistakes, they tend to be a lot better than what a lot of times people do when they're not very familiar with MLA. Okay, I'm going to close that one up. So that's how you find an article in EBSCOhost, or EBSCO database, excuse me. And as I said, there's 108. And please be honest. It's not like the first one is going to be the best one. You have to kind of go through and check them all out, right? Some of them may not even function for what you want. One of the things about monsters is they become metaphors for medical things that happens a lot. So there you go. Godzilla ate Pittsburgh. Yeah, there's a nice metaphor. Not quite Godzilla. So on and so forth. Okay. So that's one thing we could do. Now I could do another search, another full text, peer review, so forth and so on. But at this point, I think I'd like to go back to the collection here. And here, at this point, I'm going to shift over to JSTOR. Why am I doing this? I just found on EBSCO a whole bunch of really cool articles. Okay, 108. Now, again, not all of them will be helpful, but nevertheless, that's pretty good. Well, JSTOR, as you can see, is an archive of scholarly journal articles. It's only scholarly work. Everything in JSTOR is scholarly work. Okay, unlike in EBSCO, I have to press that button to make sure I just get scholarly work. Here, I don't. I just put it in there. There's Godzilla. And see what happens. 2,880 results. Now, I only had 108 before. Now I got 2,880. And again, not all of them are going to be what I want. But let's pretend the first one is what I'm interested in. I click on it. I sit around, I wait. I get rid of pop-ups. Anyway, here you go. It's all coming together. Boom. And there you go. An article about Godzilla. Sean Noriega is a grad student in the program of Modern Thought and Literature at Stanford University. The essay won third prize in 1986 Society for Cinema Studies. Well, that's a little old. Maybe I want it, maybe I don't. Hard to know. Oh, here's another cite button. Click on that. They only have 3 options for you, MLA, Chicago, and APA, but the good news is they have MLA. Again, guess what? Copy to clipboard. It'll look so much nicer this way. So much nicer. Okay. Now, I'm going back here to the databases. And at this point, I'm going to shut off for just a moment because I'm going to change screens. Okay, so we're back on the home page of Mesa College. I'm now going to go to OneSearch. And in OneSearch, I have lots of different options, but I'm going to go to this option over here, Mesa Books Plus. And I'm also going to click SDCCD Books. And I'm going to go type in Godzilla and see what happens. I got 4,810 results, but they're kind of all over the place. These will include books, as you can see, articles, as you can see. But one of the other things that I wanted you to know about was the other options that you have. Now, I'm over here on the left-hand side. I navigated over here to the left. I'm going to click the Show More button. And down here, one of the other types of sources that we have are dissertations. Okay, dissertations are like PhD dissertations. People write these things to get their PhD. And look, I got 10 dissertations, all about Godzilla. Again, maybe, maybe not. This is what you want. You just have to peek. But these would qualify as scholarly sources too. I like the first one best. Godzilla in the Cold War, Japanese Memory, Fear, and Anxiety.